A trio of Chinese astronauts were stranded in space this month after suspected space junk cracked the window on their return capsule. Here to discuss the hazards of space debris is Eddie Whisler, Director of Planetarium and Outreach at the Museum of Science and History, and our resident spaceman.
Space person, I am.
Space person. Sorry.
Spaceman, yeah, no,
Okay,
that's
didn't know if
fine.
you were
The
correcting
spaceman
me.
kind of makes it sound like I go to space. I want zero to do with actual visitation.
Yeah, you're out there enough just being here.
Yeah,
I'll
yeah.
be frank.
And not only that, motion sickness and things like that with me.
Little
I'm all right.
Dramamine.
I just let my
Little
brain go
Dramamine,
there.
you'd be fine, man. It'll be okay.
Okay, well then now I'm going.
Okay. Talk to Bezos. Talk to the Blue Origin folk. And anyway, space junk. So this, the good news is these astronauts.
It's so easy for us to get off
I know,
topic. This is what I
It
love.
just goes all awry easily. These astronauts are back. They're safe. But this was a bit of a pickle that they were in.
Yeah.
They're heading out to space and slam into probably a very small piece, relatively speaking, of space junk. First of all, what is the situation with space junk? What is space junk? Where does it come from? How much is there?
So there was an issue with the International Space Station a few years back as well, something very similar. And, people get stranded up there because you depend on spacecraft to get you back that need to be they need to be in working order. And now they get slammed into something which is traveling 5 times faster than the average speed of, high velocity bullets. And so you have all this stuff flying around. There's 30,000 pieces of space junk that we're tracking that are over 10 centimeters. That's about the range. Anything over 10 centimeters, we can kind of track it easy, gray area somewhere in there. And then below 1 centimeter, it's
So that's like the size of like a softball kind of?
Yeah. That's
Okay.
And of course you have stuff that's more round. You have stuff that looks possibly more like a pencil, bent metal or something like that. And then there's the stuff that are paint chips. And there's the stuff that are like fragments of something that got broken off during a launch or, think of all the different maneuvers and the different things that need to happen with spacecraft and satellite in orbit, and little tiny flecks of stuff go out. And so there's potentially 10 or maybe 100 million little pieces of things that are under a centimeter.
So it's sort of like plastics in the ocean. They're out there. Is there any way to gather them back once they're spread about?
So plastics in the ocean, amazing analogy, because when we first were developing this stuff, it's like, we have all the room on Earth in order to, there's no problem with this plastic stuff. But then unintended consequences and the capability to manufacture huge amounts. Oh, now we have a problem with plastics. Well, it's the same with spacecraft. Early on, you can even get these awesome videos of like Buzz Aldrin and other people in space, and especially in the early Gemini days, just like throwing tools and stuff out, on their spacewalks and stuff like that. But now that kind of thing is something that we really need to pay attention for.
Frowned upon.
And so, you go from that to now having this issue where, we need to get together as United Nations, to steal a term, in order to everybody be on the same page, because we have this shared space and a potential tragedy of the commons in these different orbits that are good for different reasons that can fill up with spacecraft and unused ones.
So you say we're tracking 30,000 of these items. So we're just watching them move, and then when we're launching, we're trying to make sure there's like a big enough hole in the space that we're not going to get struck by something. I mean, is that kind of the calculation?
So I imagine, I don't know how much of that goes into launch windows, but if it's not there yet, you can imagine a place that gets too filthy, that you do need to consider it. So I don't know the level at which launches, but satellites and materials that are already functioning and in space, we're tracking the dead pieces, and maneuvers need to be made by those spacecraft if they know that they will be too close to some of these other things that are being tracked. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, and I think we just celebrated, we received notice that there was the 100th launch that SpaceX did this year so
Mhm.
far. Are those things just kind of going up there? Um, is there any way to bring them back? Things like satellites, or do those just kind of self-dispose and fall out of the sky, or what happens to them?
There's layers to this. So the lower it is, it could take maybe a decade, and that thing would fall through and burn up in the atmosphere on its own. So the lower that it is in altitude, in orbit, the quicker it will do itself in. But the medium Earth orbit, now we're talking about something that's not going to deorbit for centuries or even thousands of years on its own. And so that stuff is up there for good. And the more the launches, the more the little bits of debris, but we can take steps when building these things to have it in the design that it stays together and doesn't put off. And of course, we don't trash things on purpose.
Right. Pick up your junk, people. Eddie
Pick up
Whisler,
your junk.
it's nice to have you here. Thanks for doing this.
So much fun.
Happy holiday.